All right, so let's talk. No, that's not the right one either. There we go. Um, etymology. That's right, etymology. We're talking about etymology. What is etymology? It means word history. Word history. And word history is useful. If you know where English words come from, it can help you in many ways. All right? So we're going to talk about how it can help you and how it's ubiquitous. Ubiquitous means everywhere. So many of the words that you use, many of them have an interesting etymology or root or connection or story behind them. And if you learn those stories, guess what? If the story is interesting, then that means it's easy to remember. So, most of you have a hard time remembering vocabulary. And the reason why you have a hard time remembering vocabulary is because the way you learn vocabulary is very boring and shallow. So it doesn't work very well. But etymology is not shallow. And some people think it's boring, but I think it's pretty interesting. So, we're going to talk about it. So let's see. How about this? Let's try, give me a topic. Can you guys give me a topic, and then I'll see if I can find a way to teach etymology through that topic. So give me a topic like sports or psychology or whatever. History is your favorite topic. Okay, well, the word history, what does history mean? What does history mean? Well, we know what it means. It means the story of things, right? So the word story, that's where we get the word story from, too. This comes from the Greek word. It's a Greek word, historia. And historia, the original meaning of history, means learning or knowing by inquiry. That means learning or knowing by questioning. So that's what history is. You ask what happened, and then you question, is that really what happened? Right? So, yeah. And it's like talking about your account of what happened, right? That's your telling of the story of what happened. That's history. Okay? Yeah. So there you go. History. So let's see. Some words. Let me find some words that are related to history. History, vocabulary. Well, for example, what does the word annual mean? Annual. If something is an annual thing, then what does that mean? That's a history word. Annually, we celebrate this holiday because it recognizes this point in history. So where does the word annual come from? Annual means every year, right? Well, annual comes from the Latin word annualis, which means yearly, means every year, right? So many of the words, if it's an old concept, then many of the words are really old and they haven't changed a lot. So, for example, many food words, many time words, things like that, many words that are concepts that have been around for a long time, those words are pretty original. They haven't changed very much. Like the word egg has been around for a long time, and it has not changed very much at all. Yeah. So let's see. In history, what about the word artifact? What is an artifact in history? What's an artifact? You guys know what an artifact is? What's an artifact? Oh, today is Teacher's Day. Well, yay. Happy Teacher's Day to me. Payson, give you a couple of examples to show you the fun of etymology. All right, fine. I'll tell you one quick one that everybody likes. The word steak. Steak. Everybody likes steak, right? S-T-E-A-K, right? Steak is meat, right? And what about the word stick? S-T-I-C-K. What is a stick? What is a stick? Steak is a piece of meat. So what is a stick? Dum 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 dum. Dum, dum, dum. That's right, a piece of wood from a tree. That's right, a branch from a tree, a piece of wood from a tree that has fallen down, that's a stick, right? Or a piece that you break off, that's a stick, right? So let me ask you a question. Why does the word stick look and sound a lot like the word steak? Why do they look so similar? Why do they sound so similar? Because what's the easiest way, if you have a fire and you have a piece of meat, what's the easiest way to cook that meat on the fire? The easiest way is with a stick. So that's why steak and stick sound similar. All right? I told about yesterday, I was teaching about the days of the week. All of the days of the week have a history. For example, Sunday. What is Sunday? It's the day of the sun. Monday. What is Monday? It's the day of the moon. Tuesday. T-I-E-W was the name of a god in German history. And that god was the Roman god Mars. So, Tuesday is the day of two. It's the day of two, right? It was the Roman god Mars, okay? Wednesday is named after the Viking god Odin. Odin. Do you guys know Odin? Have you ever watched the movies, the superhero movies, all those superhero movies with Thor? Have you seen Thor, the movie Thor? The really handsome dude with the hammer, the big, strong, handsome dude with the hammer, right? So Thor's father is Odin. And Odin, a long time ago, they spelled it and pronounced it Woden. W-O-D-E-N. So Wednesday is Woden's Day. That's why it has that weird W-E-D-N-E-S thing. It's because of the spelling of Odin. And then Thursday is the day of Thor. Friday, also named after a Viking goddess, Freya. Freya's Day. Saturday is named after Saturn, the planet and the god, Saturn. There's all the days of the week. Those are interesting stories. Now you know why they're named that way, and you won't forget them. And now you can tell that story to other people. And it's interesting to see that one of the days, Tuesday, comes from German history. 3 of the days come from Viking Norse history. And 3 of the days come from, we'll say 3 of the days come from Sumerian history with a little bit of Roman history. But then also the months, all of the months, those also have a history. Every name of the month has a history. So January, why is January called January? January is named after the Roman god Janus. Janus was a god who had 2 faces. One face that looked into the future. One face that looked into the past. That's why January is the first month. Because it's looking into the future and into the past. That's interesting. Okay? Janus, Janus. Janus was the god. That's January. February, which I pronounce as February, not February, because February is named after the Roman festival of Februa, which was a festival to celebrate the end of winter, the beginning of spring. It was a purification festival. It was a festival where they had big fires. They built big fires, and they would dance around the fires. And the fires would make it so hot that you would sweat a lot. Okay? And maybe you would see things even, right? That's where we get the word febrile. Vadim, this is a good one for you. I think I taught you this one before. Febrile or febrile, it means to have a fever. Because of Februa, which is February. It was the festival where they had fires. That's where we get the word fever from. Fever, fever. To have a fever, fashal, right? Fever. That is when you sweat because you're very hot. Just like in this festival when they had the fires and you sweat because you're very hot. So February gave us the word fever. March. March is named after the Roman god Mars. April is named, some people are not really sure, but most people think that the word April comes from a Roman word, a Latin word that means aprila, meaning to open or to bloom. Because why? What happens in April? April is spring, so that's when it blooms. Okay. Then what do we have after April? May. May is after Maya, the god Maya. And then June is after Juno, the god Juno. And then we get to July and August, which this is a funny story. The original calendar, the original Roman calendar, only had 10 months, not 12. It only had 10 months, not 12. In Roman days, those extra 2 months, it was about 60 days, that was just like a winter. That was just like an extra season of winter, essentially. Okay? That's what they considered it. But that's why, if you look at the names of the months, for example, this is September. September is the month now, right? But what do the letters SEPT mean? SEPT. What does SEPT mean? Do you know? The original meaning of SEPT? Sept. 7. That's right. Because originally, September was that. It wasn't the 9th month, it was the 7th month. And that's why October. What does oct mean? O-C-T. Octopus. How many legs does an octopus have? It has 8 legs because it's oct. So October should be the 8th month, but it's not. It's the 10th month. November. N-O-V. Nov means what? Nov means 9. It means 9. So November was the 9th month. And then December, Dec, D-E-C, Deca, D-E-C, that means 10. So Sept, Oct, Nov, Dec. September, October, November, December. That's the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th month originally. That's the way they had it. But then Julius Caesar, he decided, I want a month just for me. So that's where we get July. July is named after Julius Caesar. And then he wanted to name the next month after Augustus Caesar, his father, another great leader. So originally, the Roman calendar had only 10 months. And that's why September, October, November, December should be 7, 8, 9, 10, but now they are 10, 11, or I'm sorry, 8, 9, 9, 10, 11, 12. 9, 10, 11, 12. And then Julius Caesar named 2 months after himself, one after himself and one after his father. Julius Caesar, July, Augustus Caesar, August. So that's where we get the months from. Okay? Yeah, the Gregorian calendar, which is the Roman calendar. I mean, it became the Roman calendar predates the Gregorian calendar, if I remember correctly. But they were segued into each other. Okay, give me another topic. Give me something else. Give me another topic. I'll try to give you some more etymology. Pick something and see if I know something about etymology in that field. Like psychology. Psychology has a ton of etymology in it. Medicine has a ton of etymology in it. Science has a ton of etymology in it. Biology has a ton of etymology in it. Anyone want to give me a topic? Thank you for the gifts. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that that's the Russian eagle on the flag of the empire. That's Janus? I didn't know that. Interesting. Technology. All right, well, the word technology. Let's look at that. What does technology mean? Well, what about the last part? Ology. What does ology mean? What does ology mean? Ology, any word that ends with ology means the study or science of something. Okay, it means the study or science of something. All right, so technology is the study or science of tech. Now, what is tech? Tech originally comes from the Greek word technologia, meaning a systematic treatment of art or craft or technique. So the word technique is really where we get tech from. Technique means a method that's like an art, right? So it's a way of doing something. So tech is the art of inventing new devices or new things, new tools. That's tech, right? So technology is the science or study of developing new tools or technology, right? Tools or concepts. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Today is an etymology class, guys, so I'm not answering any questions about anything else, okay? It says the name of the class on the class, English Origins with Teacher Mark. So that's what I'm talking about, all right? It's rude if you come to a conversation and you interrupt with something completely different and you're not paying attention to what we're doing, right? So pay attention to what we're doing, all right? Let's see. Have I seen the meme technology? No, I haven't. I don't really do memes. The word Caucasian. Caucasian is an interesting word. It's a very old word. And it has a kind of, it's a difficult history to kind of really explain. Part of it, first of all, the Caucasus Mountains, right? That's where the original word comes from the Caucasus Mountains, right? But that word comes from the Greek word Caucasus, which, let's see, which apparently means the shining mountains with white snow. Something like that. So it's funny because the word Caucasian is talking about the Caucasus Mountains, which were named because they had white snow on them, right? Now, this word was applied to white people in 1795. There was a German anthropologist, Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, who he wrote a paper on anthropology, and he divided man into 5 different races, and one of the races he divided man into was Caucasian. Now, this word is related to another old word, Aryan, and so I don't really want to go too far down this road because the history behind all of this is a bit murky because it's filled with both history and pseudo-history, right? So the entire concept behind the background of these words has been perverted and manipulated many times through history. I've studied this a bit in particular, but for your purposes, the Caucasian word comes from the Caucasian Mountains, which were named because they had white snow. White skin, white snow. Okay? Now, let me find somebody else here who had a topic. Let's see. The word hospital isn't the same. Hospital, yeah, so hospital is a funny word too. What does hospital mean? A hospital is now a place for when you're sick, you go there, right? For doctors and when you're sick, right? But the original word hospital was actually a shelter for the needy. The original hospitals, the first hospitals, were shelters for the needy. That's also where we get the word hostel from. Hostels and hospitals were the same thing. Originally, a hostel and a hospital. That's where they come from. They're both the same. Yeah. So yeah, the original word just meant a place to stay, right? As a guest, essentially. You know? Yeah. And that's where we get the concept of hospitality, because you're a guest. So when you have a guest, you treat people with care, right? Like a guest, right? So hospitals treat you with care like you're a guest. Yeah. All right, let's see. How about the words vocation and vacation? Sure, let's take a look at those. Let's start with vocation. Vocation meaning a calling. It means it's not just a job, it's something that you do because you feel like you're called to do it, right? That's what the original meaning of vocation is. And the word vocation comes from the word vocationum, which is also where we get the word vocal from. Vocal. Your voice, right? Because the word vocation means a calling. Something is calling you. It's calling you to do that job, right? Something in the world is calling you and saying you should go do this job, right? You can't do anything else. You're designed for this, right? That's a vocation. Vacation let's see, vacation comes from the Latin word vacationum, which means, so this one is, the first word was from the word vocal, meaning voice, right? To call something, voca. But in this, it's from vacationum, meaning vacancy, vacant. It's empty. Which means you have free time. It's free time. That's what the original meaning was. It means free time. You know, that was your vacation. Okay? Do I write? I don't know what it's in my passport. I have no idea. I think it says dude. That's my race. That or alien. Let's see. Ajinkya, that's an interesting question, but it doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about today. Okay, was this, or these topics you want me, Valerie, you want me to talk about crime? That's the one you want me to do for etymology? All right, so let's look at some crime words. Well, first, let's look at the word crime. Crime originally comes from the Latin word crimen, meaning, or criminis, meaning something that you were charged with or accused of, right? So the original word crime it means something that they said you did, right? And that's where we get the word criminal, and that's where we get the word discriminate. All of those are related, okay? Let's see. In crime, we have, well, let's do crime and punishment. The next logical word, right? So punishment comes from the word punish, which comes from the word, the Latin word punire, meaning to punish, correct, or chastise, right? So, like I said, words that are about justice or about crime, those words they have a history, a long history, but many of those words have not changed a lot. There's a really, who asked that question? Let me see, who was that? Somebody asked it, and I gotta figure out who that was. Oh, Valerie, it was you, Valerie. And you're studying, you're a lawyer, right? If I remember right, Valerie? So, Valerie, if you're a lawyer, then I want you to do a little homework for me. I want you to do some homework to look online and find the history of the word felony. Felony. A felon, right? We have misdemeanors and felonies, right? Those are the two kinds of crimes. Misdemeanors are small crimes and felonies are big crimes. Look up the history of the word felony and you will laugh. You're a lawyer too. Okay, well, wow. I try to make this show kid-friendly. So, yeah, it is a serious crime, but the original meaning is actually a lot more funny than that. How can I don't know how I can teach this. I don't think I can teach this, because there might be children. I try to keep my shows friendly. My classes are family-friendly, right? Family-friendly stuff. But this is not a family-friendly answer. I'm just telling you that if you look up the original meaning of the word felony, it is funny. If you find out what the original meaning was, it's still kind of true. I'm going to stop there and we're going to move on from that. But all of the words that are involved in crime, like a defendant and a prosecutor and the plaintiff and all of those words, that's all Latin. That's all Latin. Almost all of it Latin and Greek. But yeah. So nearly everything that's involved in our justice system, those words come from Latin and Greek. Okay? Okay, let's see. Tom is asking about the word tea. Tea is an interesting word. I have talked about it many times before. Tea is a word I love to teach about because it shows you how etymology is so interesting and changes so much. So, for example, tea. We spell the word now, we spell it T-E-A. But it used to be spelled T-A-Y or T-A-E. And it was pronounced tay, not tea. And before that, it was written chay, C-H-A-I or C-H-A-Y. And before that, it was chai. And do we know where that comes from? India. Because what do they call tea in India? Chai. And what do they call tea in China? Cha. So cha became chai, chai became che, che became te, and te became tea. That's where we get tea from. That's kind of fun. Right? Anyone else? What else do we have? Culture. Right? So the word culture comes from the Greek word kultura, I think. Let me check. Culture. Yeah, the Latin word, sorry, not Greek, Latin word, cultura, meaning to cultivate. So the word culture is related to the word cultivate. What does cultivate mean? What does cultivate mean? Cultivate means to grow something. Yeah, it's farming, right? You cultivate things. It has two meanings. One meaning is to grow things like in a farm, right? To farm things, to cultivate, right? But you can also cultivate behaviors or qualities, right? You can cultivate patience. You can cultivate, it means like develop when you're talking about yourself, right? So you can cultivate qualities, but you can also cultivate plants, right? So you can also cultivate culture, because that's what you do. You grow it. You develop it. You plant it. You grow it. You develop it. That's culture. cultivate, related. Cooperate, that one's easy. Many of the words that start with C-O, the letters co. Co means together most of the time. It means together or with. Okay, so cooperate. Operate means to work. So cooperate means to work together. Okay? And I forgot earlier I was talking about history and I was going to teach you the word fact. The word fact, the original meaning of the word fact is a thing. It's a thing. A thing is a fact because this is real. It's a thing. So it is a fact. And that's where we get factual and all those different words like that, right? Okay, again, if you're just joining my class, welcome. However, you have to do what I am doing. You don't just come to a class and tell somebody what to talk about. That's not right. That's kind of rude. Okay, Omid? All right? If you have questions about other things, that's okay. I understand. Let me explain something to everybody here. If you're new, I'm not new. I have been on HelloTalk for 12 years. I have done more than 2,000 of these, 2,000 broadcasts, okay? I am an English teacher. I teach about reading, writing, listening, speaking, grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, everything, all right? I'm here Monday through Saturday. Monday through Saturday, I'm here, okay? And on some days, many days, at least 3 days a week, 3 days a week, you can come to my stream and you can ask anything you want. I have 3 classes a week that are open where you can ask anything. But I also have classes where I have a topic and I want to teach. And today I have a topic. I am teaching about etymology. So I will not answer any questions that are not about etymology today. Tomorrow, if you come back, you can ask your other questions. Okay? I have about 83,000 followers here on HelloTalk, and they follow me because I teach. I'm one of the few people on HelloTalk who does really teach, and I am a real teacher. Okay? Boson Higgs, you're new? But no, you're not new. I've seen you before. I recognize your name. And 如果你是中国人，我会说中文。Okay, do we have another topic or another word? Give me a word or a topic. Give me a word or a topic about etymology or any random topic, and I will teach you about it. Thank you, Alice. Thank you very much. What about the word sports? Do you guys like sports? The word sports is an interesting word. The original word sports was actually this. Disport. The original word was disport, not just sport. Okay? And why? Because D-I-S, can mean not. But in this case, it doesn't mean not. It means away. Away. Okay? Off, away. All right? Port. The word port in Latin means to carry. To carry. So disport means to carry away. Why? Because that's what sports are. They're a distraction. There's something to take your mind away and relax and do something else. So sports are an activity to take your mind away. Sylvia, culture, I did earlier. Culture comes from the word cultivate, meaning to grow, because cultures, that's what you do. You develop and grow them. Pendiculation? You want me to do that word? Okay, I don't even know what that word is, but I'll look it up and find out. Let's see. Oh, that's not even in my word. What is pendiculation? If that's not in my etymology dictionary. Let's check my other dictionary. Yeah, it's not in my other dictionary too. Where did you see this word pendiculation? I've not seen that before. Is life in the U.S. stressful? Yes, but life everywhere is stressful, especially if you don't have money. It doesn't really matter where you live. It matters if you're rich or not. If you're rich, everywhere's great. If you're not, everywhere's stressful. Is there any etymology book that I can recommend? I have many etymology books, but the best tool for etymology is you can go to etymonline.com. Etymonline.com has a free website or app. I'm using the app right now for etymology. Okay? And let's see. Did you mean speculation, Sophia? Speculation? To speculate? Maybe you mean speculation. Okay, let's see. Ambulance is a great word, Jessica. An ambulance, the word ambulance now, when we think of an ambulance, we think of a vehicle, a car, or a van that takes you to the hospital, right? But the original ambulances were not that. The original ambulances, it meant a tent. It was a tent. Let me look up the word here again. Ambulance. Yeah, so imagine 500 years ago, you are on a battlefield and you are fighting in a war and you get hurt. When you get hurt in a war 500 years ago, where do they take you? What do they do with you? Is there a hospital? No, there is not. So where do they take the hurt people? If you get hurt in the fight, then where do they take you? Anyone? To a tent. That's right, to a tent. And that tent is movable because the fight is moving, right? The fight moves, so the tent has to move. So the word ambulance comes from the word ambulare, which is the Latin word meaning to walk. It means to walk. Why? Because they had to pick up the tent and walk and carry it. So it was a mobile hospital. That was the original field tent, was the ambulance. And that's where we get the word ambulate. To ambulate is a very fancy word that means walk. To walk is to ambulate. Anyone else? Sophia, were you talking about the word speculate or speculation? That word comes from the speculare, I think. Let me see. Like, that's the same word from spectacles, meaning to see. Speculate. Speculation comes from the Latin word speculationum, meaning to contemplate, to observe, to to yeah, to observe, to watch. So spectacles, these are glasses, but sometimes people call these spectacles because it comes from the word meaning to observe, to look. Domain. Okay, I think I know this one. Let's double check. Domain comes from the word, the Latin word domanium, meaning a domain or estate. So that word hasn't changed much. Your domain means, the original meaning means your property. That's your domain, that's your castle, your domain, your house, your property. That's your domain. Now the word domain has a metaphorical meaning, meaning like within your ability or your expertise or within your field. It's in your domain. Okay? Salary is a good one. Salary comes from the Romans, the Roman soldiers. They used to pay the Roman soldiers with salt. And salt was very valuable. Why was salt so valuable? Because if you had salt, now you can preserve food. Food is the difference between a rich person and a poor person in that day is food. Whoever has food, the most food, is the richest person. And the person who has the most salt has the most food. So salt was money. So the word salt is where we get the word salary, to pay you. Yeah, interesting, right? Okay, disposal. Let's look at disposal. Disposal comes from the word dispose. Dispose comes from the Latin word disponere, meaning to put in order or to arrange or to distribute. So dis means apart, and ponere means to put in place. So the original meaning of he's disposed right now means he's busy. What is he busy doing? He's putting things in place. He's busy putting things in place. He's indisposed. That's what that means. He's busy putting things in order. Okay? What else? Account. Excuse me. Account comes from the first part. The AC actually comes from the letters AD, meaning to do something, and then cont, the meaning count. So that's all it means. Account means to count. That's it. A calculation. That's it. That's originally, like I said, if it's an idea that's a very old idea, then many of those words have not changed at all. Not really. Yeah. Okay, constant. Let's look at constant. Constant comes from the Latin word constantum, meaning to stand firm. So let's see. Con means together, and stare means stand. So constant is something that's there. It doesn't move. So the original meaning of constant means to stand there with. You're standing there together with. That's constant. You're always there. Okay? Pilot. I think I remember this one. Let's see. Pilot comes from the Latin word piloto. which is from the Greek word pedotes, meaning rudder or helmsman. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so the original word pilot was not about planes. The original word pilot was about boats. So who steers the boat? Who steers the boat, and where do they steer? If you're steering the boat a long time ago, if you're steering the boat, then where are you on the boat? Anyone know? You're on the back of the boat, and you're holding on to this thing that's called the rudder. And the rudder is the thing you move to turn right or left. So the original meaning of the word pilot, it means rudder. It's the rudder of the boat. Because that's who controls the rudder, is the pilot. That's who's in control. Okay? Okay, I'm trying to go as fast as I can. Alcove. Let's look at alcove. Alcove comes from this Arabic word alcoba, meaning a vaulted chamber. Nightmare and quarantine. I know all these. Nightmare is from an old... they used to believe that there was a devil or a ghost or a demon that would sit on your chest at night and steal your breath. And when that happened, that's when you had bad dreams. That's what a nightmare was. The original meaning of nightmare was the name of a little demon that they believed would sit on your chest and steal your breath when you slept. Quarantine comes from the Italian word quarento, meaning 40 days, right? Because a quarantine was originally about boats also. When a boat would come into port a long time ago, they would be quarantined for 40 days. They would have to stay on the boat for 40 days. That was a quarantine. Yeah. Rayan, you're saying it's from Arabic? It's not what my notes say or my books say. It comes from Italian, quaranta giorni, meaning the space of 40 days. I don't see any other history related to Arabic. Let me see this one. That's from the Proto-Indo-European. That's not Arabic. Nope. Not that I can see. Not that I can see. Yeah, it's Italian. It's originally from Italian. Yeah. What else? Come on, those are easy. Give me something hard. Yeah, nice. That's right. Nice and silly. Both of those words used to mean stupid. Yeah, that's when you said he's nice. That meant kind of like stupid. Yeah, silly also meant stupid a long time ago. Yeah. Snack. Let's see. Snack comes from... It's from Northern European or German or Dutch. It's some mix of there. The Dutch had a word snacken, and Flemish also has snacken, and it means to snatch, actually. It means to snatch something. Oh, interesting. Wow. Okay, so the original meaning of the word snack actually means the bite of a dog. A dog bite. That's a snack. Okay? Like, it's also like an onomatopoeia, like the sound, when it bites you. Okay? Snack, smack, right? So, a bite. It's a bite. So a snack is a bite. It's a small bite of something. How funny, right? Wow, thank you for all the Teacher's Day wishes, everybody. I appreciate that. How can you know the silent letters in English like knife? So, knife, it's funny you should ask that, Suleiman. Almost all the words that are spelled KN, almost all of those words, the original spelling and, the original pronunciation, they did pronounce the K. So those words, the word knife, those are all from Northern Europe. Those are all from the Norse area, right? And in the Norse countries, there's a name. Knut. Knut is a common, well, not a very common, but it's a man's name, and it's written Knute, Knut, and it's pronounced Knut. So almost all of the words that are spelled with a KN actually used to be spelled and pronounced with the K. It's funny. Yeah. So how can you know the silent letters? There is no real way to know all of them. But if you learn the history of the word, you'll probably find out why it has a silent letter. So for example, the word though, Though. Why do we spell the word Though, but it's only pronounced though? Why do we have the UGH on there at all? Or the GH? Why do we have that? It's not pronounced, right? It's not pronounced anymore, but it used to be pronounced. A long time ago, the pronunciation of the word though was though. Though. It had this like an Arabic kind of sound to it. We don't really have that sound in English anymore, but we used to, and that GH, when you see that GH was used to try to make that sound. So, a long time ago, it was pronounced that way, and that's why it was spelled that way. But then we changed the pronunciation, suddenly we just dropped this sound. We just dropped it. We got rid of it, right? And then we left the word with though, THOU, but we kept the GH spelling there, right? So the spelling is like the old word, but the pronunciation has changed. Okay? Jeopardy, another interesting word. Jeopardy is from Latin. Originally it's from French, actually. Jeu parti, meaning a lost game, right? And that J is that J words are interesting because lots of those J words come from French or Latin, and the J used to be an I, not a J. But that's also where we get the word joke from, because Jeopardy originally means a lost game or a game that you could lose, right? So to be in jeopardy means to be in danger of losing. Okay? You're in danger of losing when you're in jeopardy. Okay? To jeopardize something means to put something at risk of being lost. Okay? Like a game. Okay? But the word joke also means a game. Yeah. Perspicacious. Okay? Let me do that one. Perspicacious, meaning sharp-sighted or very, you're very quick and smart, let's just say, okay? You're acute mentally, right? That comes from the word perspicacity, which means, let's see, the Latin word perspicax, meaning sharp-sighted or having the power to see through things. So, per means through, and spicere means to look through. So I just told you the word spectacles means glasses. So perspicacity, it means the ability to see things clearly. Like I can see what's really happening here. Okay? Okay, now you want snake. Okay. Snake comes from German snachen, meaning a crawling or creeping thing. So the word snake is related to the word snail, because snails, they also crawl and creep. Snails and snakes are both crawling, creeping creatures. That's where the word snake comes from. It originally means a crawling, creeping creature. What does casual mean? Casual means common or easy going. Then how would you pronounce them? I don't know what you mean, Cabello. I'm sorry. I don't remember what we were talking about. Can I speak Chinese? 我会说中文. Yeah. Etymology is really interesting. Yeah, I think it's fascinating. And if you're learning English, it's amazing because it's such a great way to learn vocabulary. It's a much more interesting way of learning vocabulary than just praying that you remember when you memorize words. When you find the interesting stories, it's easy to remember. Like the word car. The word car comes from the Latin word carum, which that was the word they used to talk about when they had a horse and a cart and they stand on the cart. That thing, that's called a carum. Now we have a car. Okay? Transportation. The word port. There are so many port words. I had told you, sports comes from the word port, right? Import, important, imports and exports, right? Transport. There are so many port words, and they all mean to carry something. To carry something. Yes, today is Teacher's Day. It's my day. Hi, my name is Teacher Mark. I am a teacher. I am a real teacher. I have been on Hello Talk for 12 years. I have 83,000 followers. I am a real English teacher. I am here 5 or 6 days a week, Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday. You can follow me here. Follow me. I have done over 2,000 of these. 2,000 of these streams. Go to my link tree. Go to my link tree right there. You can find my website. If you go to my website, you can buy private lessons from me if you want to buy a lesson from me. You can also find many resources for studying English for free on my website. If you go to my website, just subscribe. It's for free. You just have to give me your email, but you can subscribe and get resources. You can also find my blog where I write articles about etymology and about English and about learning. Okay? You can also find my YouTube channel. You can find my podcast, okay? I have a website, I have a YouTube channel, I have a podcast, and I have a blog. Okay? Okay, the word train. Train means to pull. The original word train means to pull, the meaning. because trains pull things, right? And that's why, Carlos, when a girl gets married and she has well, sometimes they wear the white wedding dress, right? And the wedding dress has a big long tail and it's going way out behind her, right? That thing is called the train of the dress. Because why? She is pulling it. That's why it's called a train. Yeah. Trains pull things. That's also where we get the word tractor. Tractor, T-R-A, also begins with T-R-A. Tractors also pull things. Yeah. And when you train a person, I'm training you, I'm pulling you. Okay? Let's see, what else? Bon appetit, that's French. It means good appetite. It means eat well. That's what. Subway. The word way is from Old English and it means the road. And sub is from Latin and it means under. So subway means the under road. Train of thought. It means those are the thoughts. Your thoughts are pulling you in that direction. They're pulling you in that direction. That's my train of thought. What's the story behind the word reckon? Reckon is it's a slang word, really. It actually comes from the word recognize, if I remember right. Let me double check here. Reckon comes from. Oh no, I was wrong. No, that's the. I got my stories mixed up. Okay, so reckon comes from an old English word or Germanic word that means to count things. So when someone says, "What do you reckon?" it means, "What do you think? What is your calculation?" So to reckon meant to calculate, to look and to count how many you have or how many you know, or to make a decision, right? So when you say, "What do you reckon?" it means, "What do you think? What's your calculation?" Okay? Divorce. Divorce comes from the Latin word divortium, meaning to separate. So it's related to the word divert, which means to change course or change direction. Because that's what you're doing. When you divorce, you change direction, right? Okay, you divert. Do phrases have etymology too? Some do. Yes. Yeah. Just about every idiom, almost every single idiom has a story. Give me an idiom and I'll teach you the stories of where they come from. Almost all of the idioms, English idioms, they have funny, interesting stories about where they come from. Like, well, give me any. Give me some idioms and I'll teach you about the idioms. Right? But phrases also, some phrases might also have some story behind them. Okay? A chip on one's shoulder. Okay, that's a good one. So what is a chip? What is a chip? Anyone? Do you guys know what a chip is? The first thing you have to know is a chip, right? So let's look at the word chip. Chip can be a verb or a noun, right? So the verb chip means to break off a small piece. To chip is to break off a small piece. So that means the noun, it means the small piece, right? That's the small piece. That's a chip. All right? That's why we say potato chips. It's like a small piece of potato. It's a small piece we broke off. Okay? That's a potato chip. All right? Now, to have a chip on your shoulder, let's see, where was that? There's a bunch of chip ones here. One moment, let me find it. There it is. So, a long time ago, if you wanted to fight with someone, you could challenge them. And you could say, let me see here. Hold on, let me find something. Like, all right. So here, this is a piece of wood. I'm going to put this wood right here. And I'm going to say, I dare you to hit that off my shoulder. I dare you to knock that off my shoulder. If you do, we're going to fight. So to have a chip on one's shoulder means you have a bad attitude. Means you're looking for a fight. Okay? What is display? Display means to show, right? So, display comes from the Latin word displicare, meaning to scatter or to unfold. So it means to spread out or to unfold something, right? To show something is to display something. Okay? Nip it in the bud. So that one, Bahar, a bud is the word for a flower, right? A flower before it blooms is called a bud. So this one is talking about how if you cut the flowers before they grow, that prevents them from flowering more, right? So for example, I have basil in my garden, right? I like basil for cooking, 就是就生它. And basil, if you let it grow and you don't pay attention, it will start to make flowers. And if it makes flowers, then it stops making the leaves. And the leaves are what you really want for cooking. So that's why anytime I see it starting to flower, I nip it in the bud. That means to stop it from flowering more. It means to prevent something from happening. I'm going to nip it in the bud. Okay? Rendezvous, yes. Yeah, rendezvous can be used in English. It's a French word, but it also has an interesting story. Rendezvous. Rendezvous, it means a place where you're going to meet, right? That's a rendezvous. Let's rendezvous here. So it can be a verb or a noun, meaning to meet, or a place you're going to meet, right? And the original meaning is talking about the military, the army, troops, right? So the troops will meet at this place. That's the rendezvous. And the word, it means present yourself. Rendezvous. Rendezvous means present yourself. So that's where you present yourself, there, at the rendezvous. Okay? Why isn't it a chip off of one's shoulder? I don't know. I don't know, Kikuk. Yeah, I don't know. There's another phrase, a chip off the old block. A chip off the old block is an idiom that means just like your father, or just like your brother, or something like that, right? It's usually your father. So, because a block is a piece of wood, a big piece of wood, and a chip is a small piece of wood. So a chip off the old block, it means you're a piece just like your dad. You're a piece just like your dad. Okay? Where did the term loco pilot come from? Do you mean co-pilot? There is no term loco pilot. Loco is Spanish for crazy. But that's not, we don't say loco pilot, we say co-pilot. Co-pilot. Co means with, together. So a co-pilot is the pilot that's with the pilot, right? He's the guy with the pilot. That's the co-pilot. Okay? Anyone else? Give me a topic, give me a question, give me a word, and I'll tell you where it comes from. Or I'll tell you if it has an interesting story. Or an idiom, any of the idioms. For example, do you guys know the idiom straight from the horse's mouth? Have you ever heard straight from the horse's mouth? Anyone? Have you heard that idiom before? Straight from the horse's mouth. It means that you got the information directly. You didn't ask somebody who asked somebody who asked somebody. No. You got the information directly from the source. That's straight from the horse's mouth. Now, why do we say that? Because a long time ago, if you were going to buy a horse, right? Maybe you're a farmer and you need to buy a horse, right? So when you buy the horse and the farmer says, well, is the horse healthy? Is he healthy or not healthy? And the guy will say, well, he's healthy. Of course he's healthy. Is the farmer going to take his word for it? No, the farmer is not going to take his word for it. The farmer will go and open the horse's mouth and look in the horse's mouth himself. He will look and see, does the horse have healthy teeth? If the horse has healthy teeth, he's healthy. So straight from the horse's mouth means I checked it myself. I checked it myself. Okay? There's another funny one. Asif, you were saying the train driver, loco pilot, that must be a local thing. I don't think that's an international thing. That's not everywhere. Okay? Loco is a Spanish word. It means crazy. So if you say loco pilot, that means you're calling him a crazy driver. Yeah. Okay? Now, do you know the phrase, let the cat out of the bag? Let the cat out of the bag. Do you know that one? Anyone? Yeah, to tell the secret. It means to tell the secret is to let the cat out of the bag, right? Now, where do we get that from? Well, there is another idiom that's related. These two idioms have a story together, all right? So there are two idioms that we're going to learn together. One is to let the cat out of the bag. Okay, that's the first idiom. And we're also going to learn an idiom, to buy a pig in a poke. To buy a pig in a poke and to let the cat out of the bag. Those are idioms that are related, okay? So let's talk about buying a pig in a poke. What does that mean? A poke, everybody, the word poke, it's an old word that used to mean a bag. Okay, so a poke was a bag, all right? So to buy a pig in a poke means you're buying a pig in a bag. Now, if it's a pig in a bag, then it's not a big pig, it's a small baby pig, right? Okay, so here's the story. Let's imagine you're living in Europe, you're living in France, and it's, let's say 400 years ago. Okay, 300 years ago, 400 years ago, 500 years ago, something like that, okay? And let's say you want to go to the market to buy something for dinner, okay? You want to go to the market to buy something for dinner. So you're going to go to the market and you're going to buy a baby pig because you can't afford to buy a whole pig and it's too big, right? So at the market, they had baby pigs in bags ready to go. They have them ready so that you can come to the market and say, oh, you want a pig? Okay, here's your pig. You can go now. Here's your money. Here's the pig. Let's go. All right. But sometimes when you go to the market to buy, maybe you're late. You're running late. You're in a rush. So when you go, you say, oh, is that a pig? Oh, okay, here's my money. Let me take the bag. And then you run home with your bag. And you get home and you open the bag. And when you get home, oh no, he tricked you. There's no pig in this bag. Look what's in the bag. Not a pig. What's in the bag, everybody? A cat. So, to buy a pig in a poke is an idiom that means you bought something and you did not look at it carefully first. So you got tricked. Then when you get home and you open the bag to find your pig, there's no pig. And now the cat is out of the bag. The secret is out. Now you know you got tricked. Now you know you got tricked. Is this thing on? Come on, that's a good story. Okay, I'm going to make it more interesting. I told you that the word poke means bag, right? So they had another word. They had this word too. Poquette. A poquette was a small bag. So a poke was a big bag, and a poquette was a small bag. Okay? Now let me ask you a question. A long time ago, where did you used to keep your money? If you go to the market, where do you have your money? Where do you keep your money? A long time ago. Before wallets. There are no wallets yet. We don't have wallets. So where do you keep your money? In a little bag. That's right, in a little bag. In a poquette. In a poquette. You keep your money in a poquette. Oh, but one day somebody said, wait a minute, this is silly. Why am I carrying around a little bag? Why don't I just put the bag here? I'm going to put the bag here, and I'm going to sew it right onto my clothes. And now a poquette becomes the word pocket. Because what is a pocket? A pocket is a little bag on your clothes. All right? So that's where we get the word pocket from the word poke, meaning a bag. Any word, if a word ends with E-T-T-E, E-T-T-E, the letters E-T-T-E, that comes from French. In French, E-T-T-E, at the end of a word, it means something smaller or something diminutive, something feminine. Something girlish, smaller, diminutive, feminine. Okay, so for example, what do you call the word? What's the big brown thing that you smoke? The big brown one. Not the small white one. What's the big brown thing that you smoke? What's that called? Nah, that's the small white one. What's the big brown one? Almost. You're close. A cigar. That's right. It's called a cigar. So the big fat brown one is called a cigar. And then the little one is called a cigarette, E-T-T-E, meaning smaller. Okay? And if you go to buy, maybe you're going to get an apartment. You're going to get a new apartment, and it's a small apartment. It's one bedroom, And it has a kitchen, but it's a very small kitchen. So if you have a very, very small kitchen, we call that a kitchenette. And some houses, a long time ago, they had the dining room. That was the main room where you had food. That's the dining room. But some people, they also had another small room called the dinette. That was a small room for eating. Baguette. Baguette is a funny one, Margot. Margot, the word baguette comes from a word in Italian that means a bar. It's originally from building houses, this word. The word baguette comes from the word that means a piece of wood that was about that long. That's why they called it a baguette, because it looked like this piece of wood that they would use. Let me go back and find my story here for that. Baguette. There, no, that's not the right one. There it is. Yeah. So the original word comes from the Latin word baculum, which means a stick, right? In Italian, that's what it was. In Italian, the word bacchetta, it means a small rod, or baccio. And it comes from building houses. That's what someone told me. It was like the piece of wood you put above the door, I think, originally, was called the baccio, or bacchetta, which is where we get baguette. Can I explain the word, the phrase, you opened a can of worms? Sure. That one's kind of simple, Cabello. Cabello, do you go fishing? Do you go fishing? When you go fishing and you have worms, if you open them, you have to use them now. You have to use them, right? You have to finish them. You have to do it now. So when you open the can of worms, it's like, well, now you started it. Now you got to finish it. Right? So when you buy worms, you can't save them for later. You got to use them now. Okay? And then you were asking about toilet. That's a funny story too. The word toilet, that comes from the word to toil. To toil is a word that means to work hard at something. To do something that's difficult is to toil. All right? Why do we call the toilet that? Because guess what, guys? A long time ago, in the 1800s, did you ever see what people looked like in the 1800s? What did women look like in the 1800s? How long did it take for them to put on their clothes and their makeup and their hair? How long? Was it quick? No. So, to put on your hair and your makeup and your clothes, you were in the bathroom for a long time, toiling. You were toiling. I'm toiling with my hair. I'm toiling with my makeup. I'm toiling. I'm trying hard to make myself look good, and it's hard work. And it's a small room. So that's why it's called the toilet. So the original meaning of toilet was the room where you went to put your clothes on and your makeup on. To toil. Come on, see? You can't tell me you're not impressed. You can't tell me you're not impressed. Almost every story, there's a word, almost every word, there's a story. Almost every word, there's a story. Okay? Every idiom, there's a story. We were talking about horses, right? I said straight from the horse's mouth. We have another phrase, too. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. What does that mean? Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. What does that mean? Yeah, that's right. It means if somebody gives you a gift, you don't look at it and be like, is this thing good? I don't know if this is very good. Let me look and see if it's good. I don't think it's very good. You don't do that. And remember, I told you, straight from the horse's mouth means you're going to check the horse to see if it's healthy. So when you talk about don't look a gift horse in the mouth, somebody gave you a horse. They gave you a horse. It's a gift. So if you now go and look at the horse in the mouth, it's kind of like you're checking to see, oh, you're giving me a horse. That's great. But is it healthy? It's kind of like criticizing the gift. Okay, so those are related. Those two phrases. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth and straight from the horse's mouth. Those are related. Do I have a Preply account or italki? No, I'm just here. I have a YouTube. You can go to my YouTube. You can follow me here. Everything that you need to follow me is there. I have a YouTube. I have a podcast. I have a blog. I have a website. They're all right there on that. Yeah. Cabello, I've been on Hello Talk for about 12 years. I'm one of the #1 teachers here on Hello Talk. I'm one of the #1 recommended teachers on Hello Talk. I have about 83,000 followers here, okay? And this is really my job. It's what I do, okay? And you can tell it's my job. Do I look like I don't have the answers? Excuse me. Cabello, I have been studying etymology myself since I was 15 years old. So a long time. About 35 years. And yes, teaching is a calling for me. Yeah, it's what I do. It's a job, but it's a calling. It's everything I do is a calling. I don't do jobs. I only do callings. So how old am I? Well, I told you that I've been studying etymology for 35 years, and I started studying when I was 15. So do the math. How old am I? +5, Heisa. +5. Next Wednesday, I turn 50. Next Wednesday is my birthday. Okay, any other etymology questions? Anyone want to ask me an etymology question? Give me a word, give me a topic. Yeah, anything. I'll tell you a story of where it comes from. There's so many of them. They're all just stuck up here. You have to remind me. Give me something and then I'll be like, oh yeah, there's a story about that and there's a story about this. And yeah. Come on. Challenge me. Challenge me. I look like I'm 28. Well, if you look close, you can see some gray. And my hair's not quite as thick as it used to be. Thank you, MJ. Muscle. Oh, muscle is a funny one. The word muscle comes from a Latin word that means little mouse. Little mouse. Muscle is related to the word mouse. And the reason why is because when you make a muscle, I can't really show you, it's hard to show you, but when you squeeze your muscle here, there will be a little mouse. Oh, there's the mouse. Look at the mouse. You see the mouse? That's what it means. Mouse. So I have been teaching online. Yeah, Seini. So I have been teaching. I started teaching drums when I was 18 years old. I started teaching English in 2009. I lived in Taiwan for 4.5 years, teaching English. I have taught kindergarten, elementary school, junior high school, college, adults. 都可以，都可以。Macho. You want to know the word macho? Macho is actually from Spanish. In Spanish, 西班牙文, macho, it means tough guy. It means it means a male animal is what it means. Macho comes from the Latin word masculus, masculine, meaning male, right? So yeah, it's a Spanish word that means like a man. He's really macho. Muy macho. Very manly. 我会说中文，你要知道什么？ Good night, Hung. Whiskey. Whiskey comes from Old Scottish, actually. It's like Celtic. Uskabetha. Uskabetha was the original word that means water of life. Water of life. Whiskey was, the original meaning was water of life. Yeah. Is the idiom burning the midnight oil common? Yes, I think so. Yeah. Archaic, the word archaic, let's look that one up. Archaic comes from the Greek word archaikos, meaning old-fashioned. So it's funny, the original meaning of the word archaic, it's still the same. So a long time ago, 2,000 years ago, the Greeks, they were saying the word archaikos, and it means old-fashioned. Archaic. It's old-fashioned. Yeah. What's the difference between and among? Rosie, so between something, right? My hand is between the microphone and the cup. Among is within an area, like within a group, right? So if you're among that group of people, you're in the middle of that group of people. So you can be both between and among at the same time. You can be between people and among people at the same time, okay? But between, let me see something here. Hold on. So the original meaning of between means by two, which originally just meant to choose, like where you are in relationship to those two. Now it just means in between, the middle of those, right? So you have by two things and you're in the middle. That's by two. Okay? Between. Where does the word America come from? America was named after the Italian map maker, Amerigo Vespucci. Amerigo Vespucci. He was a map maker. So the names of places, many places, the names were given by the man who wrote the map. Whoever wrote the map made the names. So Amerigo Vespucci, he was like, well, I'm going to name this one after me. you know. To rub salt in the wound, Bahar, that one's an obvious one. That's a literal meaning, right? Rubbing salt in the wound is an idiom that means to make something worse, right? Somebody's already feeling bad and now you make them feel worse. That's rubbing salt in the wound. Just like if you have a cut and you put salt in it, ow, that hurts. I already have a cut, now you put salt in it, right? That's what that means, okay? Let's see. Level up the difficulty. Decimate. Let's see. Decimate. I think I do remember this one. Decimatus. That's right. Yeah. Decimare means the removal or destruction of 1/10. 1/10. So this one is actually a crazy story. A long time ago, sometimes they would randomly just kill 1 out of 10 people. 1 out of 10 people. So decimate has those 3 letters, DEC. That means 10. So decimate, the original meaning of decimate meant to kill 1 out of 10 people in your group. I'm killing 1 out of 10. That's to decimate them. Now the meaning, it means to destroy almost completely. If I say it was decimated, that means destroyed. Really. Okay? But it's a crazy story about how the original meaning means they were going to kill randomly. They would just do a lottery and just kill 1 out of 10 people. Genes. Oh, I can't remember where genes comes from. It's French, if I remember right. Jean Fustien. Yeah, that's right. Right. So it's named after a type of cloth that was popular in France. And originally it's from Genoa, right? The Italian city. So the French word for Genoa was Janes, or some, I don't know how to pronounce it in French, but yeah, so the word genes is actually, it was a type of cloth that was from Genoa. Yeah. Genoa is a place in Italy, an area of Italy. Between really and very, which one is used with the verb, which one is with the adjective? Dennis, if you're taking a test, that question matters, but in real life, nobody cares. Really good, very good, really, really yummy, very yummy. There is a rule, but to be honest with you, it's one of those rules that almost no one knows, almost no one pays attention to, and a lot of people do it incorrectly, and so it's almost not worth teaching because it doesn't really, it might be a rule, but nobody follows it. Okay, so are you asking because you're studying for a test? If you're asking for a test, then I'll teach you the test answer. But if not, then just don't worry about it, to be honest. Don't worry about it. Floor it to the fence. I've not heard that one, Katya. I know what floor it means, but I've never heard floor it to the fence. That could be a British idiom that I'm not familiar with as an American. A needle in a haystack is, again, that's an obvious, that's a story that you can see in your head. If you see a stack of hay, that's a lot of grass, dry grass, and now you're looking for a needle in that, that's going to take forever. That's what an idiom does. It's a story that teaches you a big idea in a few words, right? Kanzi, we're talking about etymology. It means the history of where words come from. On the fence, again, Bahar, there's no story, those are just obvious. To be on the fence about something means that you can't decide. You can't decide which one. So, should I go this direction or should I go that direction? I am sitting on the fence between the two decisions. And I can't decide where to put my foot down. Where should I put my foot down on this side or this side of the fence? So that just means I can't decide. That's all. Okay? To be on the fence about something. Sitcom, it means situational comedy. That is what we call a portmanteau. A portmanteau means two words that are put together, right, to make a new word. So sitcom is situational comedy. Rom-com is romantic comedy. Okay? Come on. Errant. 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 There it is. Errant meaning wrong, basically, right? The original word errant meaning traveling or roving. So the original meaning of errant means to wander. So an errant thought is a wandering thought. Okay? Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Back to the drawing board. Bahar, that's an old one that comes from business. Before we had computers, before we had iPads, before we had all this technology, if you had a business meeting, then there was a board where you could draw things, like a chalkboard, right? Or a whiteboard, okay? And you have a business, so you have a meeting with all of your people, and you make a plan on the board. You put your plan, here's our plan on the board. But if your plan doesn't work, now you have to go back to the drawing board and start another plan. Okay? Come on, give me some good ones. Give me some good ones. Give me a topic, give me a word, give me an idiom, and I'll tell you where it comes from. Give me a topic, give me a word, or give me an idiom, and I'll tell you where it comes from. Challenge me. High five, that's simple. That's give me five means slap my hand. High five just means up high. Low five, down low. That's what we say. We say high five, low five, behind the back, too slow. Sincere. Ah, okay. You're trying to challenge me. Good. I like that. Sincere, meaning originally pure or unmixed or unadulterated, means true or free from falsehood. No falsehood, right? You're real. Okay? That comes from the Latin word sincerus, which means clean or whole or pure. So that one just means genuine. So it's kind of funny because it's related. Let's see. Wait, I'm reading. Ah, no, okay, that's somebody's. There used to be another explanation, but they've now said that that's not true. So, yeah. So the original meaning of sincere just means pure, unmixed, unadulterated, clean, truthful. That's it. Yeah. What else? God made me a shortcut person? I have no idea. That sounds like God made you a lazy person to me. People who look for shortcuts are just lazy. Almost everybody who's looking for a shortcut, you're telling yourself that you're trying to be efficient. You're telling yourself that oh, no, I'm not lazy. I'm just trying to be efficient. But no, you're just lazy. Sorry, but that's God didn't make any shortcut people. God didn't make any shortcuts. How about that? Bite the bullet. That's a fun one. Bite the bullet, Pam. Let's imagine that you're in a war and it's 300 years ago or 200 years ago. Let's say 200 years ago, you're in a war and you're on the battlefield and you were shot in the arm, right? You had a bullet hit you in the arm and now they need to cut off your arm. They have to cut your arm off, okay? But do they have any good medicine for you for that? Do they have any anesthesia to put you asleep when they cut off your arm? No, they don't have any of that. If you were lucky, they would give you a bottle of alcohol that you would drink, and you would drink as much as you can, and then they would start cutting off your arm. And they would give you a bullet to put in your teeth, between your teeth, to bite on. Because the bullets were made from lead. Lead was a soft metal, so you could bite into it. So when they're cutting off your arm and you're screaming in pain, they would bite on the bullet. So that's why the term bite the bullet means to do something that you don't want to do. To get ready to do something that's going to be really painful. That's to bite the bullet. Okay, slow down. You got too many. Break the ice is from boats. A long time ago, when a boat would come into port in Northern Europe, the water would be frozen. It's the winter. So the ice is frozen. It's all frozen ice. So to welcome the boats, the people would have to go out on the ice and break the ice to let the boats in. So breaking the ice is doing something to welcome people or to make them feel welcome or to make them feel more relaxed. Okay? It's breaking the ice. Oh, man, you guys are going too fast. Slow down. Hold on. Let's see. So by the skin of your teeth comes from the Bible. It comes from the Bible. In the book of Job. In the book of Job, there's a passage that says, I am escaped with the skin of my teeth. And it just means that I got away with only my teeth. That's it. That's it. I have nothing else. That's it. Okay? But the original meaning comes from the Bible. Okay? Let's see what else. Sinacera, but actually, Cabello, that one has been proven to be wrong. That's what I was reading about at the time. Many people thought that it might have that root, but most etymologists now agree that that's not likely. That's not likely. Yeah. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, Ravi, that's a bit of an off-topic question. But Ravi, reading books is never a waste of time unless you're reading garbage books. As long as you're reading quality books, then that's good. You know, don't read anything from Sean Hannity. You'll be okay. So yeah, reading books is always good. Now, searching for a good girl, that's your mistake right there. Okay? A lot of people spend time looking for a good girl, but that's not what you should be working on. Because guess what? Guess what, Ravi? If you find the perfect girl, but you did not work on yourself at all, then guess what? It's not going to work when you meet that perfect girl. That's why you should be spending your time working on yourself. Make yourself someone that somebody wants to be with. Make yourself a quality person. If you are a quality person, people will come to you. All right. A bit off topic, but okay. Let's see. Throw down the gauntlet. Pam, again, that was a real thing. A gauntlet is a armored glove, right? So a long time ago, they used to have knights with swords, right? And they would fight with swords, and they wore armor, metal armor, all over their body. The gloves they wore, those are called gauntlets. Okay, a metal glove, that's a gauntlet. Okay, now, if you wanted to challenge someone to a fight, you would take off your glove and throw it down on the ground and say, I challenge you to a fight. And if they pick up the glove, they say, okay, I accept your challenge. All right? So to throw down the gauntlet means to challenge someone to a fight or something. Okay? Wow. Okay, let's see. What was this other one? Reading for a fall. I don't think I've heard that one before. That doesn't come up in my Google when I type it in. I don't know where you saw that, but I've never heard that phrase before, reading for a fall. I'm not sure where you got that from. Anyone else? Give me a question about etymology. Give me a word and I'll tell you where it comes from. Give me a word and I'll tell you where it comes from. Aren't you interested? You know, the word umbrella comes from a word that means under. Why? Because you're standing under it. Anyone? No? Well, then I guess I'm going to probably wrap it up here. I've been here for 2 hours. So if you've just joined, hello, my name is Teacher Mark. I have been here for 2 hours today teaching about etymology. That means the history of words, where they come from, okay? This is a personal hobby of mine, and I have I've been studying it for many, 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 many years. I think it's a very useful tool. It's a useful trick for learning vocabulary, okay? So you should try to, check it out. Check out etymology a little bit. And if you follow me here, then I teach about it. I'd say once a week or once every 2 weeks I do a stream about etymology, okay? If you go to my link tree, right there, I just gave you my link tree. That's my link tree. If you go there, you can find my website. On my website, you can buy private lessons from me. If you go to my link tree, you can find my YouTube channel. I have over 2,000 of these videos on my YouTube channel with questions that everybody asks me questions and I answer them. Okay? If you go to my link tree, you can find my blog where I have written articles about learning, about English, about etymology, about grammar, about pronunciation. Okay? If you go to my link tree, you can find my podcast as well. Okay? Is etymology the same as morphology? No. Morphology is related more to linguistics, right? So etymology is less about linguistics and more about the development of language culturally, not linguistically, right? Linguistics is more about the formation of the words, and that's different. That's more of a foundational aspect of things, right? Yeah, so morphology studies how the words are built from meaningful parts, right? While etymology just studies the origin and historical development of the words, right? So Morphemes, that's when you're talking about like un and happy, unhappy, right? So etymology does have a lot of morphology in it because of Latin and Greek. 60% of English words come from Latin or Greek, and almost all of those are root words. So that means they're morphologically useful. Like you can say un or re or pre or post, or all of those are suffixes, affixes. That's like morphology. Okay? So it's similar to morphology in that it deals with affixes and suffixes. Okay? All right, what else do we have? Posh. I'm going to finish up with posh. Let's see, posh. How posh? Let's see where posh comes from. Posh comes from, it says, a word of uncertain origin, but there is no evidence for the common derivation. Okay, so it's definitely not from an acronym. Some people thought it was from an acronym, but it's not. So there used to be a story. Oops. What happened? Sorry, everybody. I hit a button by accident. There used to be a story about Posh that many people thought was true, but people don't think that's true anymore. They used to believe that it meant port outward, starboard home. And it was about when you stayed on a boat where the rich people would stay, right? But nobody thinks that's really true. Okay? Hello, Ali. Thank you very much. Presto Changeo, Mia, is that what you're asking about? Is Presto Changeo? Presto Changeo is not really an English word. Those are kind of, it's not really slang. It's kind of like magic words, okay? Presto comes from Italian. That's an Italian word in music. It means quickly. It means immediately, quickly, right? So presto changeo means immediately change. Okay? It's like magical words. Presto changeo, like abracadabra. Okay? What's the meaning of a basket case? A basket case means a person who's crazy. A crazy person is a basket case. Okay? And this one comes from around 1919. In the year 1919 in the United States, there was a false rumor. Oh, wow. Oh, this one is sick. This one is really sick. Marco, have you ever learned about this? There was a rumor. There was a rumor after World War I that some of the soldiers who lost both their arms and their legs, they had no arms and no legs, they were telling people that they were being transported in baskets. Okay? But that was never true. That was never true. But a basket case, it means a soldier who saw too much terrible stuff and now their mind is gone because they did too many terrible things and they saw too many terrible things, right? So that's why we call them a basket case. Okay? Okay, guys, I need to go. It's been 2 hours and 10 minutes. I need to go. But before I do go, I also want to tell you that next week on Wednesday is my birthday. And it's my 50th birthday. It's a big birthday. So I'm going to do something special. I'm going to have a very long live stream. Today I did 2 hours. I'm going to try to do 8 hours. 8. 8 hours I'm going to try to be here for my birthday, and I'll be teaching and playing music and having some guests and eating some food and hanging out and talking. So we're going to have a marathon live stream next week to celebrate my birthday. Okay? So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for following. Come back and see me again tomorrow. Have a good morning. Have a good afternoon. Have a good evening wherever you live in the world. Bye, everyone. See you next time. Oh, guess what? I'm going to teach you one word. Goodbye. What does goodbye mean? Do you know what goodbye means? The original meaning of goodbye? Did you know that you're saying a religious word? When you say goodbye, goodbye means God be with you. How funny is that? Did you know that you're saying that every time you say goodbye? That's what goodbye means. So, goodbye everyone. I'll see you next time. Bye, Marco.